Hello students. Last time we have seen about dual nature of radiation and also hydrogen atom spectrum. Here we will see today about atomic models. The first atomic model by Dalton. It was a watermelon type model where the positive charges were uniformly distributed throughout the atom, even the negative charges. Then came the Thomson model in 1907. Thomson, by his experiments, he proposed a model where the electrons and the protons, each electron nearer to a proton, and uniformly distributed throughout the atom, making it neutral. Thomson's model could not explain the atomic spectra where we have discrete lines of different wavelengths. In 1911, Rutherford performed the alpha particle scattering experiment using gold foil. Gold is a high atomic number, and the outermost electrons loosely bound to the nucleus. And he used the alpha particles to bombard this gold foil. His experiments led to the nuclear model of atoms. As you know, alpha particles are nothing but helium nucleus. You know, helium atomic number 2. Inside the nucleus, there are 2 protons, 2 neutrons, outside 2 electrons. If you remove those 2 electrons, the remaining nucleus is an alpha particle. Now, Rutherford bombarded these alpha particles over a thin gold foil, and the result was some of the alpha particles went past undisturbed, few of them got deviated from their path, some of them made a U-turn, and many of them had a deflection of more than 90 degrees. In order to explain this experiment mathematically, Rutherford performed a lot of calculations. Before that, he made some assumptions. The first assumption being the problem was treated from a classical point of view. You know that classical physics considers a particle as a particle and a wave as a wave. There is no dual nature, means a particle does not have any wavelength like thing. He also assumed that the nucleus and alpha particle are considered as point charges. That means they are not spread over an area. At a point, they are concentrated. For application of Coulomb's law, this is one of the limiting conditions. Nucleus of gold foil particularly, is considered to be very heavy compared to the alpha particles, and so heavy that during the collision, it's not a physical collision, but even from a distance, during the collision, using the Coulombian forces, the alpha particle gets deviated, but the nucleus remains at its own place because the force is not enough to move the nucleus. Now, the electron in the gold atoms does not get affected because it is too light compared to the alpha particle. Now, in this experiment, we have shown alpha particle, that is helium nucleus, emitted by a radioactive source, passes through collimators because it has to be channelized first, streamlined, so that it is incident on the foil. So it passes through a collimator and made incident on a gold foil which is very thin, gets scattered and appears on the scintillation screen. Scintillation screen is an arrangement made where the alpha particle strikes and gets recognized. And there is an image on the screen, the image of the slit or collimator is shown on the screen. Now we have shown another diagram here where an incoming alpha particle up to A travels in a straight line, then there is a nucleus ZE charge, there is a nucleus here. This is the nucleus, say, because we have reduced the diagram. This is the nucleus and this is the alpha particle. And when it nears the nucleus, what happens? Alpha particle is 2 plus charge, nucleus is Ze plus charge. So positive positive they will repel and this will change its route and go diverted. This is the force, this is the Coulombian force on the alpha particle due to the nucleus Ze. Here we have shown another case where the alpha particle comes very near and at point A its kinetic energy in this direction becomes 0 and it travels like this. The path is a hyperbola because when it starts coming its velocity reduces due to the Coulombic force of repulsion, and then its energy finishes here and due to the repulsive force still there it gets repelled. Now here we have seen some variables like the angle of deflection phi. This is the original direction, this is the final direction, and angle between them is angle of deflection. And here we have theta, which is the angle the alpha particle direction makes with this x-axis. Here I have written, we'll understand the whole thing later as we go on. Now the most important force here which is creating all these effects is the Coulombic force which is between the alpha particle and the nucleus. Q1 is nucleus Ze, alpha particle 2e, and distance between them r. So r square. So this is according to the Coulomb's law. This is the force. Now going to the calculations. The first part of Rutherford's calculations and scattering experiment shows the relation between scattering angle and impact parameter. Now what is the impact parameter? It is the perpendicular distance. See here the particle, alpha particle is coming like this and going like this. This is the direction. This is the hyperbola, these are the asymptotes. Okay, and this asymptote, it's a minimum distance from the nucleus, minimum perpendicular distance from the nucleus, P is called impact parameter. When the alpha particle comes below the impact parameter only, it gets deflected. Otherwise, there is a value of impact parameter after which, supposing it is incident like this, then it won't get affected by this nucleus. It is coming within the impact parameter distance, the perpendicular distance is within the impact parameter, then the alpha particle gets deflected. So we are interested in this distance. This is the impact parameter. Impact means effect. Now the alpha particle traveling along PAP dashed hyperbola, Nm is equal to P is the impact parameter, that is the perpendicular distance from the nucleus below which the alpha particle gets scattered. Now let the initial velocity of the alpha particle be v0 and as it approaches point A, let its velocity after A, let its velocity be v, m is the mass of the alpha particle. Now the law of conservation of energy and law of conservation of momentum, these two are the main laws of classical physics which hold in this experiment, in this effect. So here conservation of momentum. Here momentum is angular momentum we are taking, because the alpha particle undergoes a deflection. So conservation of angular momentum. Angular momentum is moment of momentum. Moment of momentum means actual momentum is mass into velocity into the perpendicular distance. That is angular momentum. Here also after the effect, here after the collision we call, exactly they don't collide but they do interact with each other with the Coulombic force. So here after it turns, the mass velocity, this is the final momentum and this is the final distance n a. Here we have shown this is n and this is point n and this is point a. This is point m and this is point n. So here the conservation of angular momentum gives us velocity, final velocity of the particle as initial velocity into impact parameter divided by distance s. Na is equal to s. At point A, now kinetic energy of alpha particle at point A is half mv square. Potential energy is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q1 q2 by r, not r square. Force is r square, potential is r. So it is q1 is Ze, q2 is 2e divided by s. At point P, kinetic energy of alpha particle was initially half mv 0 square. Potential energy was 0 because that was the point where it did not experience the Coulombic force due to the large distance. When it was approaching A, slowly the Coulombic force was pushing it back. So at point A there is potential energy as well as kinetic energy. At point P there is only kinetic energy. Now law of conservation of energy if we apply, half mv0 square is equal to half mv square plus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Ze into 2e, that is 2 Ze square divided by s. Put value of v from equation 2 in 3. This is the value of v here. We will put the value of v here in this equation here, v square. So we have put v0 p by s whole square and the rest of the equation remains same. Here we have rearranged the terms. We have put this to that side and this one to that side. So this equation comes. Now again the same equation rearranged and we get the value of p square from here. We'll get the value of p square. Okay, and you can see that it will come to s square because here there is s square, no, it will go up. And here half mv square will come down as the denominator of these two. Half mv0 square by half mv0 square gives 1 and here we have divided by mv0 square. And here rest of the thing remains same, but p square by s square, this s square goes the other side and goes to the numerator. So that is your equation 4. Now substituting this value, another constant b equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 Ze square, this whole term, this whole thing is constant, so you have put it, only s is varying. So we put b by s and then it becomes s into s minus b. Now from coordinate geometry of hyperbola, eccentricity is secant theta, where theta is angle NOM. You have seen what theta is here. Let us see what theta. See, this is the angle theta, where it is approaching and the original x-axis. That is the angle theta. This is the angle phi. So now here we have p square is equal to s into s minus b, and here we were dealing with hyperbola, eccentricity is secant theta and focal distance NO is equal to a secant theta. What is the focal distance here? NO, you see, this is the point N, this is the point O, this is the focal distance. Okay, this total value is S from here to here, OA plus NO. So NO is nothing but, where is it? Yeah, NO is equal to A secant theta, and OA is equal to, we have called it A, which is the major axis of the hyperbola divided by 2. Now therefore S is equal to NA, we get A into 1 plus secant theta. NO is equal to A secant theta, or you can write it as P cosecant theta. You can write it as P cosecant theta. A secant theta. NO is equal to A secant theta. It will give you P cot theta. What was the NO you see here? It is A secant theta, and where was NO here? Here, P square is equal to S into S minus B. So S is equal to NA is equal to A into 1 plus secant theta. So NO will be equal to S minus OA, that is P cosecant theta. Here we will get A is equal to OA. A is equal to OA if you place, and you place NO is equal to NA minus OA. So S minus A, it will be S minus A. Okay, leave it. We will see to it later on. It is P cosecant theta, and A is equal to, somewhere we have defined NO as P cosecant theta. Let me put it the other way.